can do this. You ready, man?
Yes, sir.
All right. Retro Game Brews, what's up, dude? Thanks for stopping by. Everyone getting up early in the morning for some CafeBTW, a morning coffee. I got my coffee gaming podcast. We were on a 2-week hiatus, so welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging in there. I know that you couldn't live without the show every Saturday morning, but you probably could. And hello to everyone in the VOD land. I know we have a lot of VOD watchers, so thank you so much. I'm Andy, and we're back. Another full episode with a guest below, and it's Dwayne, a.k.a. CrunchyKong, joining me on this week's fabulous episode of CafeBTW. What up, Crunchy? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, I want to preface that I had a different show I was supposed to do, and unfortunately they had to pull out, and Crunchy was awesome. He was going to come on the show at a different point, but hey, it worked out. Here he is. Dwayne here is gonna talk with me about the nostalgia of arcades. And I've talked a little bit about this before, Dwayne, and I think that a part of your kind of content or what you really like in gaming is a lot to do with arcades, right? Or arcade cabinets and stuff like that. Is that right?
I absolutely love the arcade experience. Love to play. I still play a lot of the old arcade games. Love it.
So, okay. So before we get, because we're going to go deep into that, I always hit my guests with one simple kind of start off question. And that's, you know, what is something about gaming that connects you back to your childhood? What was it that switched on that light for you as a kid where you're like, wow, I like this. I like video games. Like, what was that for you? Do you have a story?
I can remember the first video game I ever, I can remember the first video game I ever played. We used to go to the lake and locally used to go to the lake. And I remember they had a couple of arcade games out there when I was very young. I was probably about 5-6 years old. And I wanted to play this game called Asteroids. And so my mom and dad would give me a quarter here and there, and they'd stand there and watch me play. And, of course I was terrible. I was 6 years old, but it was fascinating. But when it really hit me and I really knew that I loved video games was 1981. Pac-Man had already been out, but 1981 when Donkey Kong came out and I played that for the first time, I fell in love with that game and video games in general. From that point on, I couldn't get enough.
Well, I think Donkey Kong, especially when it came out, and we're going to get into Donkey Kong because I know that's kind of like your jam. But Donkey Kong could be heralded as kind of like a pivot game, meaning it really started a generation. Even though arcade gamings were already existing, Donkey Kong kind of changed things, and the way we watched and played video games kind of changed with Donkey Kong. I feel like it was a big monumental game that was released to the culture of gaming. So we'll get into that, man. And did you grow up in the South in Alabama your whole life?
I did. I grew up here. Was born and raised here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And the only time I've been away was when I was in the military, and I was in North Carolina. So I never really left the Southeast.
Oh, that's funny. So let me ask you this real quick. What was the culture like for video games in Alabama as a kid? Like, what was that like?
It pretty much reflects everything else I've seen and heard from people from around the United States. Pretty much the same. We all kind of have the same memories when it comes to our favorite games. We all had the same experiences. I don't think it was very different.
Yeah, that I just like to ask that because I grew up in New Jersey, Northeast. Obviously, arcading and gaming was huge over there. But I feel like it's the same everywhere. But did you have a lot of access to? So was it like well, I guess another question that's more a modern question for today for you. What's the retro gaming shop culture like in Alabama? That's a good question.
In Alabama, there are definitely good places. Birmingham is close to me, about 45 minutes away. And they have a lot more to choose from when it comes to retro gaming shops. And couple of retro arcades. The best one is in Huntsville. That's a couple hour drive. The best one that we have here in Alabama is it's called Pints and Pixels, and that place is really awesome.
Do they have
it's
beer?
Kind of like yes, yep.
Oh, no way.
It's a family place too because they serve food. It's like a bar and grill, but They have a bar, and then they have seats and things, and they always have like 80s videos and stuff playing on their monitors. And then you got all these classic games, and they're all the real deal. They're not they're not fake. Let's put it that way.
They're not
Because that
fake.
right, there's some of the people that try to fake it and have some of the, you can tell some of them are not running legitimate, hardware.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a cool place because I'll tell you why I asked that question because recently I was in Florida. I live in LA now, and you can imagine Los Angeles retro community is crazy. It's huge out here.
I
There's a
can imagine.
there's a lot of geekdom and nerdum and like just like comic book lovers. LA's a nerdy city, right? So
Right.
there are 15 retro gaming stores, believe it or not, within LA County alone. And that's a lot. And there's all kinds of like pop up retro like expos and stuff. So I'm very spoiled. But I went to Florida recently, which is why the podcast wasn't going. And, there were barely any retro gaming stores in South Florida. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, why aren't there any stores? And then I found one store, and that store was even kind of like, it was almost like the guy owned a salon next door. And it's like he
Mhm.
just would open the store when he felt like it. It wasn't even like a true like everyday business. And like he opened up the store and I like talked to him. He's like, I don't know, we just don't have a lot of the retro gamers, that want
Yeah.
that. There's plenty of gamers, people buying modern games and stuff, whatever. But the retro collecting thing is out. So I feel like when it comes to retro shops, that's something that I think is different depending on where you live. Because some people don't even have retro shops
Right.
in some areas. What do you think of that? You think that's kind of realistic? It sounds like
Oh,
Alabama's got a good amount of shops, so that's cool.
well, we've got a few. They're not. I wouldn't call them the greatest. We have a couple of pretty good shops here. Like I said, in Birmingham, there's a couple that I like to visit. But here in Tuscaloosa, I mean, we basically have one place, well, two places that are the same store. They're kind of a chain, a local chain, called Replays, and they started out. I remember when they started out, they were just doing uh, videos and CDs, and then they got into the games, and that was years and years ago. But now that's the only place you can really go to find retro games is Replays, and they don't really have a great selection. That's just here in Tuscaloosa.
And I know you have some cabinets. Do you have also a pretty large like console collection from like the old days, NES, Super Nintendo? Like, what's that like for you?
I do. I have a lot of the old consoles and several games. It's nowhere near, some of these other guys, but I mean it's a modest little collection. It's nothing big.
Right. Yeah, mine's pretty modest, but it's getting larger lately because I don't know, the last 5 years I've been really focused on my retro collecting. But the problem with me is that, and I'm so jealous, is that I don't have the room to have like this big cabinet that has all the games on it yet. Eventually, uh, I will have that, and I'm excited. So I have more bins, and everything's like kind of
Right.
all over the freaking place. But I can't wait to display it. But I see some of these people's like cabinets and stuff with tons of like old games like that. I'm always really impressed. But you do have some cabinets though, arcade cabinets. We're talking about real cabs. Um,
Yes.
where do you have those in your house? And talk us through before we get into like the history and nostalgia of arcades. Tell me a bit about your love of arcades and why you have about 5 of them. Is that right?
Yes, I have five cabinets. They're not all set up, but I own five.
They're not all set up. So which one is
Right.
set up?
I have two. I have Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., and they're behind me, right over here behind the green screen.
Oh, that's so cool. So which one do
Yeah.
you play more?
Donkey Kong.
So what's the story of the Donkey Kong? So is this the original cabinet with all the nice
Hmm.
side with the beautiful blue? And I remember it's a very beautiful cabinet. I mean, the
So I
Donkey Kong
have,
is beautiful.
yeah. So I have two Donkey Kongs.
Two.
the Right. I bought one. I don't know, about 6, 7 years ago, and it wasn't working fully. And yeah, there it is. And I took it all apart, took all the pieces out, started learning how to, what I needed to do, what I needed to fix, and I was working on restoring that one. And there was an auction that came up, that there was one that was, fully working, and everything was perfect about it. And it wasn't going for very much. It was like $400. And I bid on it, even though at the time I probably shouldn't have, because when I won the auction, I had to scramble to get
Get the money.
right to get
You
the money
realize you
together.
won it, and you're like, shit.
Right.
Now I got to pay for this thing.
I really didn't think I was going to win the auction. I didn't think it was going to go for like it ended up going for like 425, and I was like,
Wow,
there's no way I'm going to get this for 425. So
that's
I
a good
got it.
price, though, right? I
It
mean,
was yeah, that's about right as far as collectors go. That's probably about the right. Yeah, I wouldn't go more than 500 because they're so common. Donkey Kong's a very common machine.
they made a lot of them in the 80s, right?
Oh
They made
yeah,
a ton of them. They were super
and
popular.
right. The other one would be Miss Pac-Man. Don't pay a lot for a Miss Pac-Man if you want one. Miss Pac-Man is the most manufactured. I'm pretty
Arcade game.
sure, right, of all time.
No
Miss
way.
Pac-Man. Yeah.
I believe that. Miss Pac-Man is a favorite of mine. I actually like Miss Pac-Man a
Oh,
lot.
Miss Pac-Man's a great game.
It's a great game. I'm not a big Pac-Man fan, but I like Miss Pac-Man. I think it's a little
Yeah,
bit more competitive. It's a little better of a game.
I think so
Um,
too.
uh, and but Donkey Kong. Let's talk about Donkey Kong while we're on Donkey Kong, right? So Donkey Kong, you know that opening sequence in Donkey Kong where he takes the what's the name of the action? It's not Peach, obviously. It's
Pauline.
Pauline. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
Pauline, and Donkey Kong kidnaps her and takes her. But you know what that is? That's a cutscene. That's
Right.
literally a cutscene in an arcade machine. They say it's one of the earliest cutscenes. It's like right there in that little sequence, watching Donkey Kong take the princess or Pauline to the top, tells you exactly what the game's about. It
Right.
tells you the whole story. What do you think about that little sequence where from, all right, I got to jump my way up the top to save the princess or whatever? What is that to you? Is that what connected you when you started playing Donkey Kong? You're like, wow, this
I
is
think
cool.
so. I think that is absolutely what grabbed me because it was I mean it looks great. I mean even today, I mean it's an 8-bit
It still
arcade game.
holds up.
It still looks really good, you know what I mean? So like that attracts you to it, and then you're right. It's considered one of the first games that actually had a story to it. There
Exactly.
was he kidnaps the girl, you have to save the girl, you got to go through these different obstacles and screens, uh situations to get Jumpman at the time to save Pauline. And yeah, I think that did have a lot to do with why I loved it so much as a
And
kid.
and I mean that's good too because Donkey Kong is honestly like the birthplace of Mario or the
Mhm.
first iteration of Mario. Yeah, like you said, his name was Jumpman because what did he do? He just jumps in the game.
Right, right.
But like, so this cabinet is a beautiful piece of art. I mean,
I love it.
how much does a cabinet like this go if it's like in mint condition? Like, what are they going for these days?
How I guess one that's fully restored or in perfect condition. I mean, I don't know. I would say probably about 1,000. I wouldn't. I
That's not
definitely
too
wouldn't.
much. It's not much. I mean,
No,
not
it's
that
not.
I would like want to go out spending thousands of dollars on cabinets,
Right,
but
right,
so is that because you like you said there's a lot of them. There's a lot
right.
of them.
And that's between like collectors and stuff. That's between people that actually are into collecting and going out and trying to find the cabinets and things. If it were just somebody walking in off the street, into a retail shop, because there are some places that sell, classic cabinets and things as a retail business. Uh, they probably would charge a good bit more. I mean, I think you probably would pay about 1,500 on average to a
Wow.
place like that. But between collectors, somewhere around 500 to 1,000 is going to be the right value as far as how many of them are available.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, like look at it right here. It still holds up. It's a beautiful. It's like it's everything an 8-bit video game has to be.
Right.
Like it looks beautiful, and I mean, and look what's happened to Donkey Kong. Not only has Mario been launchpad off this game, Donkey Kong's a major player in the Nintendo universe.
Right.
Donkey Kong Country in the NES, Super Nintendo comes out, and that game blows everyone out of the water. But there wouldn't be a Donkey Kong Country without Donkey Kong.
Right. Without the
Um,
original. Yeah.
hey Tao, thanks for stopping by. Um, Also, what's a fun fact, and I got to get the story straight on Donkey Kong. I'm glad we're talking about Donkey Kong. I've never given it enough like due where we can really like focus on this machine. Um, what was there's a bunch of like really interesting fun facts about Donkey Kong. Now, the creator of the game, Morimoto, the guy who created Zelda, Mario, the
Right.
Nintendo guy. I'm pretty sure that he was just the name is controversial on how they came up with the name Donkey
Yes.
Kong. And from what I had heard is that originally Donkey Kong means like a stupid donkey. Like and donkeys are dumb, right? Or something like that.
Right. It
And
was stubborn gorilla or dumb gorilla. Yeah.
now there was a big lawsuit with the company that created, or I think it was Universal,
It was Universal.
who
Yeah.
owns Kong, because they think they were ripping off King Kong.
Right.
And I could see that why it was ripping off King Kong, but I think they went to court about this and they couldn't like really put a
Well,
nail on it,
the
right?
thing is they found out that Universal themselves didn't even own the rights to King Kong. That's what they found out with the whole
And
lawsuit.
that's how it
If I
all
remember that correctly, yeah.
that's so funny.
Yeah.
So it's just like the story behind it, even like what they went through with the name. And then in the end, it became what? One of the highest selling arcade cabinets ever made, right? Like you said, they made thousands of these.
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there.
I mean,
And it
awesome.
spawned a sequel, Donkey Kong Jr. Uh, and there was Donkey Kong 3, which is, yeah, we haven't talked about that. We're still talking about the original, but Donkey Kong 3, if you haven't played that, if people haven't played Donkey Kong 3, if you like Galaga, it is an amazing game. That game is so much fun. Check it out in MAME, Donkey Kong 3.
I've
With
definitely.
It doesn't have Mario, it's Stanley the Bugman. And this will be the NES version. The arcade, it's pretty much the same, but the
Let me find the
oh my
arcade.
goodness. Yeah,
What
it's
is the story between not using Jumpman in Donkey Kong 3?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just know that this is basically a shooter, a platforming shooter. So he jumps around these little
I
platforms
played
and
the crap out of this game.
I
I remember
love
it.
this game.
Why
In
did
the
they go a different route on Donkey Kong 3? It is a good
I
game, though. Ooh,
I
good.
don't know. I don't know. And that's the thing. A lot of people will, they'll they won't give it a chance because it's not Mario, because it's but if you like I said, if you like Galaga, this game is so much fun. There's so
Dude,
much
this
going on.
this is the arcade, by the way, right? This looks like
Right.
the arcade.
That is
Yeah.
the arcade. Yeah.
Looks beautiful too. It's really, and I remember you would like hit him in the
Right. You hit him
in
in the
between the
butt.
crotch or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep. And he goes up. And that's the thing. That's one of the things that people don't, when they play this game, they don't know that you don't have to spray him all the way up to the top to win. You just have to kill every bug on the screen. Once you do that, he will leave the screen.
Really?
Yes. So that's why when you're playing for high scores and stuff, it gets really, really fun because you're basically, if you watch some of the really good people like the world record holders, those guys are ridiculous. They're just running around and they're killing every bug on the screen and they're dodging everything. It's amazing. So much fun.
But you don't have this cabinet.
I do not.
Is this a hard one to find?
Probably an original Donkey Kong 3. Yes. Most of them are going to be conversions. So what they would do is to take an old Donkey Kong or Donkey Kong Jr. and they would convert it. So they'd send out the little kit. You just replace the board, put the side art on.
Oh, no
And
way.
yeah, I actually have a Donkey Kong 3 kit, but I don't have the board. I have the marquee, I have the marquee, the bezel, and the control panel. I have that, but I don't have the actual board.
That's one I haven't thought about in a while. I played the NES version, I think, the most. And then there was Donkey Kong Math. Am I wrong?
Yeah, Donkey Kong Junior Math was on the
Donkey
NES.
Kong,
Yeah,
which is a sought after NES game and very hard.
it is.
It's very expensive, by the way. It's not cheap.
It's very expensive.
I have not seen it in the wild anytime recently either. It's a very rare game now. But this was not in the arcade, right? This was yeah, I remember Donkey Kong Junior Math, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's actually not a terrible game to play.
No, it's not.
I've played it. I put it of course, I don't have the cartridge, but I put it on the my modded NES Mini, and I played it, and I was like, this is kind of fun. I like this.
What's up, Chavio? Good morning. Thanks for stopping by, man. Good to see you. Yeah, wow, awesome. Thanks for going down that Donkey Kong. We got, we'll jump into some more Donkey Kong soon. Want to just kind of do a very brief overview of kind of like the history of arcades. And what I mean that is like I'm just going to briefly, we're going to talk through briefly top line about arcade history and some old machines. Have you ever heard of this machine called Galaxy Game?
I
Um,
haven't actually. That's weird that I don't know something about an old game.
so so there's a lot of like games that came out, a long time ago before before we got to the generation that really like brought us out. But if you see, this is like one of the early, this is a 1971 release
Okay.
arcade game. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's one of the earlier forms of like how the cabinet arcade was built. Like, how did that become a thing, right? So,
Yeah.
this game, Galaxy Game, which I'm going to show you some gameplay, and Chavio says, I need to check my stash of NES games at the parents. Yeah, go get your retro games, buddy. Those are, hold on to those, or your parents might throw them out. So make sure you don't lose them. But what do you think? Just taking a look at this cabinet here, it looks pretty futuristic and cool, doesn't it? It's like
Yeah, there
pretty
was
neat.
it's kind of like the computer space. That's the one I
Yep.
do know of. Computer space cabinet where they did the fiberglass. It was like
Oh
a
yeah.
fiberglass cabinet. Yeah.
Well, this is the game. Doesn't it
Okay.
look exhilarating?
Oh yeah.
You're like a
It-
rocket, and I don't know. I honestly don't know exactly.
this was probably blowing people's minds back in
I
1971. Like,
know, just
holy
like
crap.
whoa,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a spaceship. So that's Galaxy Game, and then obviously
Pong. Yes.
Pong was really the true innovator because they started putting these in bars,
In bars. Yep.
and that's where did the arcade culture started in the bar.
Right.
And I think that attests to the way the style of arcade, like in the 80s, I always remember you would go to a bar and there would be arcade games. Always.
Always. Yep.
Always. At
Hmm.
least 2 to 4 if they didn't have like a big arcade. Some of them had a lot. Some of them had like a lot of
Hmm.
games. Because it went along with like their billiards and their darts. Like if you drank, you would go play, on the arcade machine too. Like, what is
Hmm.
your experience? Did maybe as a younger guy, a younger CrunchyKong, did you have good times in the bars playing video games? Is that a memory for you at all?
I just remember them being there. I wasn't old enough to go into actual bars until,
I guess I
uh,
wasn't either. So,
yeah. But yeah, I do remember them being in there, in the bars. And in the mid '90s, when I was able to go in there, they were still there.
oh, we're gonna get into the '90s because that's like
Okay, yeah.
that's my true connection to arcading. Like when I was in high school in the '90s. That's when arcade gaming was huge for me. But
Hmm.
we're giving love and due to the ones that really helped this whole thing. And then MB says Crunchy is old, but not that old. MB the great
That's
81.
true. Yeah, that's
Uh,
Bo.
Chavio says I was born in 1984, so '90s arcade was my experience. Is there a certain time period that it's golden age arcades? Yeah, golden age is the late '70s into the '80s is golden age, and then the '90s came, and that became like I don't know what age that was, but that's kind of like what the golden era of arcades is what we're going through right now, Chavio. So we got some more to look at. Clayman says my dad would drink and play pool while I played Pango. Nice.
Pango. I love that
Pango's
game.
a good game.
Yeah, it is.
So here's another interesting older arcade machine. I don't know if you ever seen this one. This is an Atari game called Night Driver,
Yes,
1976.
I do remember that. Yes.
1976. Now this was, like you said, if someone came up to this arcade cabinet in 1976, they'd be blown away. They'd be
Yeah.
like, "Whoa, this is crazy." Um, oh, that's Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, that's the clip from the
that's
movie. Yeah, that's
from the
when
movie.
they
I
were
forgot that they did this in the movie. Oh my god!
right. They were in the arcade in the movie.
Look at
Yep.
that.
This is one of my favorite horror movies
This is
of
a
all
great
time.
movie.
Oh, it's so
What an
good.
awesome movie.
Mhm.
This is a good look at the arcade in the 80s,
That was Wild Gunman, wasn't it?
Yeah. I have Wild
Yeah,
Gunman here.
I actually played that. I played that. I played the cabinet. I remember playing the cabinet several times.
Well, this is Hogan's Alley.
Yeah.
which I think also becomes Wild Gunman. Now, speaking of Wild Gunman, do you remember this scene?
Yes, I do. That game was not Wild Gunman. My bad. That game. Oh, what was the name of that game?
This one?
No, no, no. That's Wild Gunman. I mean the
Yes.
other one we were looking at just now. The graphics.
That was Hogan's Al. Oh, wait. No.
No, the
Hold on.
yeah. I can't remember the. Oh man.
Hogan's Alley?
No, no, no. The one before it. The video from the one before it.
Night Driver?
The one where they were playing Dawn of the Dead. I'm sorry.
Oh,
It was
Dawn
in
of
the
the Dead.
Dawn of
My
the Dead
bad.
clip. It's in the Dawn of the Dead clip.
Oh, God.
I'm
What did I
sorry,
click
man. I
on?
didn't mean to make you go back.
Oh, here it is. No, my
Yeah.
bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right when he had the gun, and then
Yeah,
they show.
wait.
Yeah, right there. That one right
Oh,
there.
what game is that?
Where I can't remember the name of it, but I know I played it. It's it's like a
Oh.
gunfight. It might even be called gunfight. But
Hmm.
you have the two cowboys, and you had to go back and forth and use like the things in the environment to not get shot, and the whole
It was
goal
Gunfight, 1975.
and I'm almost positive it was a two-player game. Like you could play it against someone else.
Here it is. Look at that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
No, that's
It's
great, man. I haven't
a
seen that
two-player
one in a
game.
long time. Whoa.
Yes, I remember playing that very well.
Wow, good callback, man.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah, that was fun.
Uh, but yeah, so obviously we can't talk about arcade games without Asteroids, which
Very
it,
first one I ever played.
which is in Japan. It all stemmed from Japan, Asteroids. And
Yeah.
hey, Davey, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. And you never heard that in Japan it was so popular that there was a shortage on the certain yen coin that they
I've heard
used.
that. I've heard that about Space Invaders.
Was it Space Invaders or
Yeah,
Asteroids? Maybe
yeah,
it's
I've
Space
heard.
Invaders,
I know that was a story.
which I
with,
have
Space
here.
Invaders, yeah.
Which I have here. So then, but didn't Asteroids come from Japan too? I was pretty sure that was a.
I,
No,
I
you're
just,
right. It was Space Invaders. My bad.
yeah,
You're right.
Space Invaders was Taito.
Yes, here we go.
Yeah,
This is the one that caused the shortage.
yeah. This is that's what they say.
That's what they say.
And the reason
believe
I
it.
say that is because, well, the thing is what's his name? You ever watch Norman Caruso?
I think I've heard of Norman.
The gaming historian.
Oh
on
yeah.
YouTube?
I'm sorry. I
Okay.
only call him the gaming historian. I don't know his real name. So then,
Yeah,
yes, of course.
my bad. But I mean to give a plug to someone else, but I love watching his videos, and he did a thing where he kind of debunked that myth. But
And
it
let's
is
give
still
love
it's still
to.
a pretty cool story though.
Let's give love to him. Here he is, just so people know. If you guys are interested, the gaming historian, one of the best documentarians on YouTube that you could find about history of video games. He really dives deep. He puts out like an episode once every month and a half, and that's because he puts a lot of work into them and gives you some good history. You know what he did recently?
He did
The names.
the names of the Mario characters. Yeah.
Yep. So there was a lot about Donkey Kong there, and that's where I found it. He's really great. So if anyone's interested, game historian, really great guy. Just so you guys know who we're talking about. Do you have a connection with Galaxian?
I don't.
Love the name, by the way. Love the name. I actually it was a clone of Space Invaders, but it was like it was still a good game. It was still a good game.
It was a very popular game when it was out. I wasn't big into shooters back then. I would rather play, Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
But I do love Galaga. Galaga's like
Galaga's a classic, man.
it's definitely one of the all-time.
Also,
greats.
another good name for
yeah.
a game. I just love the names of these games in the 80s. Galaga, Galaxian. Here's Galaga.
Yeah, Galaga was so cool. You could
This is a classic. This one is so great.
you could burn your extra guy, your extra man by getting him captured, and then you have dual shot.
It was great.
Yeah.
And then let's see what I got. We already talked about Donkey Kong. A lot of talk. So here's some really cool photos I found of the golden era of arcading. The nostalgia of arcades. Before we move on to the 90s and stuff, we got to give love to just look at first of all, the just I don't know. First of all, you could tell it's the 80s here.
Mm-hmm. Stomping. I got to look that up. I don't even know what that is.
like this looks like some underground like
Hmm.
basement, and they're having a party. They got alcohol. They're having a good time down there, right? Here's
Man,
a
if you had an arcade game in your basement as a kid in the 80s, holy cow, man.
you had a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Um, this is a really great shot here. You got all the awesome games on the wall. You got the what are the cocktail cabinets they call them,
Yeah,
uh,
those are cocktails, yeah.
which is freaking awesome. Uh, but yeah, so another game
That's
I wanted to mention was Star Wars,
I absolutely love arcade Star Wars.
arcade Star Wars. Let me
Absolutely love that game. That is
really,
one, I have a list of games I would love to have. Arcade cabinets. This is absolutely one of the top on the list. Um, I played this so much at the local bowling alley. They had the cockpit version where you sit down and play. You know, it had the voice, it had the speech in it. You had Obi-Wan. The Force will be
yep.
with you always.
Oh man,
They
simpler
had Darth
times, huh?
Vader. Yeah, they had Darth Vader's voice, and it's so much fun. I love that game.
Here's another one I played a lot was Pole Position.
Pole position, absolutely.
Huge dude. As a kid in the '80s, was one of the games I played the most.
Hmm.
I love Pole Position. I love the wheel. Just a beautiful, like the wheel was made really nice. It was like
It is
felt like a real steering wheel. You know,
absolutely.
that was a clever game. Putting the steering wheel on the arcade stand up. You know, with the gear joystick.
Hmm.
Freaking cool, man. What a great game.
So good. I can hear the music right now. The
Yeah.
prepare to qualify.
Also had that really nice 8-bit look, just like really pretty. Um, so what's
Yeah, this
next?
stuff's bringing up so many great memories.
Centipede. Can't get out of the 80s without mentioning Centipede, right?
That's true. The
Centipede,
trackball.
the trackball, Centipede, and that's a great game. Hey Sanity, what's up? Biff says you can hear SW game across the arcade and the Black Knight. Happy Saturday, gang. Oh, pinball, you meant. Okay, yes, you can hear pinball. Yes, Centipede, can't not mention Centipede.
Right. Centipede is a classic. Centipede is one of those um that it was I'm pretty sure it was designed by a woman. Uh One of the earliest I don't even know what I'm trying to say here.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Like a female that created
Yeah.
a video game back in
Right. It
the
was one
early.
yeah, it was one of the earliest examples of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Biff says Mach 3 WS and early FMV arcade. A
Oh
laser
my
disc,
goodness.
yes.
That was another thing I was hoping you'd get to. I don't know if you were ready to do
Which
that.
one? Which one?
Dragon's Lair.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay.
Well, we can go there
Yeah.
now.
Well, I mean, it's a
Hold on, I got a good one. Dragon's Lair, Aladdin's
because
Castle. There's a video I know that's got
oh
to
my
be.
goodness, yes.
So this is a 1980s video.
I've seen this too, yeah.
The 10 to 12
This is
monsters
great.
and obstacles there are in the game, you need to put some time into it. That also means money. It costs 50.
So she talks about how Dragon's Lair just came out and they're at an arcade. Aladdin's Castle, which if people knew, Aladdin's Castle was kind of like a franchise arcade that you would see in malls and everything. And this is the arcade runner. He's like letting everyone know we can't get them away from the machine because
Hmm.
it was a freaking amazing cartoon based game. It was amazing.
It was incredible, man. It grabbed my imagination, see, it was 83 when it came out. I was what, 9 years old, 8 years old. And like you've been playing Donkey Kong, you've been playing Pac-Man, and all of a sudden this shows up.
Yeah, it changed the
If
game.
you and I've actually told people because people complain about that game nowadays because it's basically just a bunch of quick time events, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when they go back and play it, they don't have the nostalgia behind it. And I understand that if you just take it at face value, I get that criticism. But if you didn't walk into the arcade and see that for the first time and it didn't blow your mind, I mean, it was a phenomenon, man. Like everybody was talking about it. We talked about it at school. I mean, it was amazing because it blew us away that you're saying the graphics are so good and it's really not graphics, it's actual hand drawn animation that they put on a laser disc,
Yep.
and you're able to choose. It was Oh my goodness.
But it was great. And then I want to give another one nod is Space Ace, which
Space
was
Ace.
made by the same guy.
Right, Don Bluth.
And Don Bluth, right. And this was really, really good too, man. Space
Mhm.
Ace was phenomenal.
Yeah.
MB says, but at the time it was an interactive cartoon back then. How could it not be awesome? I mean, it was.
Blew us away.
People would
man.
laugh at us, but back then that was like evolution into gaming. It was like progression.
And Dragon's Lair was like the first arcade game to cost 50 cents, 2 quarters to play.
And we were just like, oh my God.
Yep.
Let me pull up this game Mach 3 that Biff Buffington in chat, our fellow Canadian, is saying. Let's pull that up for him because he's been mentioning it in chat. I remember Mach 3. I didn't play this much, but I remember this. Wow. Huh. Yeah, that was like a real backgrounds or whatever.
Yeah, that reminds me of.
I remember this game.
Okay, so that's like what's the Firefox? Firefox is very similar to this.
Firefox, that's right.
And that was the Clint Eastwood movie that they made a full motion video arcade game out of. Firefox. I think I'm right about that.
Here's Firefox.
Yeah.
I remember Firefox.
Yeah.
Oh my
God. This was based on the movie.
Are you serious?
Supposed to be, yeah. Yeah.
I forgot about this game. Wow. Hey Katie, welcome to the CafeBTW. Wow. Amazing. Cool. All right. Well, let's keep moving. Now let's get into the 90s. And I always see this photo online, right? I always see this photo online. And look, there's a million other 80s arcade cabinets, but we got to get into the 90s because what's interesting about gaming in the arcade is that it's been through kind of like generational iterations. So you had the 70s with Pong, then you had the 80s, and the 80s kind of just kept going, and then the 90s happened. And you got machines like the Simpsons arcade. You got the machines like the X-Men. You got Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat. This was my era because I grew up and went to junior high and high school in the 90s, you know, and I would go, every arcade I'd go into had the Simpsons arcade going, and you would just see this on repeat. You know, when no one was playing it, this would just be on repeat. What is your connection to the 90s, Dwayne? Talk about the 90s.
Pretty much the same. Yeah, I mean, of course, I was a little older. I was in my teens, and towards the end of the 80s when this stuff started coming out, you know, the Turtles came out in 89, and then going over into the 90s, man, going to the arcade, it definitely changed the experience because there were more games that multiple people could play at the same time. And that was a totally different experience because, you know, and early on you had like if you played 2-player Pac-Man, you took a turn and the other person took a turn. But then you had games like Turtles and The Simpsons, like you were talking about, where you'd have 4 people, could be 4 strangers, you know, all playing the same game and trying to get to the same goal. And that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Now I want you to take a look. Who is this guy right here? Who do you think that is?
Is that you?
That is me in 1992.
That's cool.
At an arcade in Wildwood, New Jersey. And I just found these photos literally a few weeks ago when I was in Florida with my stepmother. She was going through old photos of my dad and stuff, and she found, and I was always looking for photos of me in an arcade, and we found them, and I didn't know these existed till like 2 weeks ago. This is me, and what's full circle about this, you see the guy right here, that's Daniel Pacina,
right,
who played Johnny Cage, and Dwayne, he was on this show, so in some weird full circle, I was sitting a couple feet away from him in a poster. It's really like moving to me. It's like
that's really cool.
This is me in the 90s. Like this is me right here watching. And there's definitely like a 90s arcade still had tons of 80s arcade cabinets.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
This is my brother here, and I look so freaking happy, you know, because that's what it was like for a kid in the arcade, you know. Like, goddamn. Like, yes, Wildwood, Chavia, we would go down. And just so everyone knows context, Jersey Shore, South Jersey, was Wildwood. And Wildwood would have pier carnivals, would have rides, and they would have arcades on the boardwalk. And that's what I was doing here. And these arcades were phenomenal, man. Like, these were beautiful beach arcades. Have you ever been to a beach arcade off the boardwalk?
I have.
Those were the days, man.
I have, but not. I've been to one recently. Let's put it that way.
Oh wow, okay.
Like you go down to the beach. There's a couple of arcades down at the beach here, but I was never a big beach person as a kid, so I didn't experience that back then. But I will say this though, when we used to go to Six Flags all the time.
Six Flags.
Yeah, Six Flags over Georgia in Atlanta back in the 80s, they always had a huge arcade. And like, half of my day wasn't riding rides. I'd be in the arcade. If my dad would give me the money, I'd be in the arcade playing the arcade games, and everybody else would be riding rides and having fun.
Oh man, but you know what? This is the era of arcading that I think really made it fun. Like this is when it was like at its best, because after the 90s is when it went downhill, right? It was like, It hit its peak. Like here's NBA Jam, which how could you forget? Like that's a 90s nod.
When I was in I don't mean to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
That you're bringing up NBA Jam. When I was in the Army in Fayetteville, North Carolina, we used to, one of the local arcades, we used to have tournaments all the time, and me and a buddy of mine won several NBA Jam tournaments. This is amazing. This is one of the games I own. I own an NBA Jam cabinet, but I have the NBA Maximum Hang Time board in it.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, oh my goodness, it's so much fun to play.
And then of course, we just talked, this is Mortal Kombat 2.
And I have a Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have a Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet.
Oh my God, that's great, man. Is it working, or is it one of the ones?
It is.
Oh,
it works. I do need to fix the monitor. The monitor went out not too long ago. I need to replace the flyback in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's up? It's Virtually a Podcast. I know it's too early for you, but doesn't mean I'm going to change the start time for you. I love you though.
This may be controversial, but
yes.
This is my favorite Mortal Kombat 2. I mean, my favorite Mortal Kombat game. And
it's great.
I honestly think the series went downhill.
I think that Mortal Kombat, especially when it went away from the real visuals of real people playing, like that's when it took away from what Mortal Kombat was. Like 1 and 2 were all, I forgot which one they went away from it. Was it 4? I think
it was 4 when they did the computer graphics, the CGI stuff.
Then Genza says that guy looks familiar, like we've seen him before, and of course it's familiar because that's Johnny Cage, the wonderful and talented Master Daniel Pacina, who came on our show, Dwayne, a while back, and he's an amazing dude. His stories about Mortal Kombat. He is, and I'll give him credit right now because he deserves it. He's one of the original pioneers of all the movesets for the original Mortal Kombat.
That's pretty cool.
Rock and Roll Geek says series dipped hard after 3. Yeah, I think you make a valid point, guys. And then
I honestly 3 was where
3 was good, though.
I was such a fan of 2 that when 3 came out and they introduced the run, because as a fighting game guy, I'm a big Street Fighter 2 guy.
Yeah.
So that's my jam. So like when this came out, I did love Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2, but man, 3 came out and they added the run button and memorization combos, and I hate memorization combos.
That's when it started. Yeah. I mean, that's Street Fighter in a nutshell,
Yeah.
Whoa.
There's someone here.
Genzo, why are you gifting 10 subs, man? That's amazing, dude.
Oh, that
Thank
is
you
cool.
so much, man. I don't know what to say, but that's really... And let's shout out Genzo. He's been my mod for our community since we started this podcast.
There's someone here.
But Genzo, that's just so amazing, man. Thank you so much for gifting all the subs to everybody.
Logan,
Katie,
awesome.
Mystery, Davey, Tao, my girlfriend got one. Rock and Roll Geek, Biff Bufflington, MB the Great, CrunchyKong, you got one. Bloody Angel, and Retro Game Brews. Because of our wonderful mod Genzo, you all have subs to the cafe, by the way. Thank you so much. Let's get some emojis in chat, everyone. Come on, let me see some hype. I don't know. Let me see something in chat. Give me those emojis, everyone. Thank you so much, Genzo. That's freaking cool, man. Biff, you said something here. I went to Disneyland in the 90s, and we went to a video game that was a jet fighter, and you would be strapped into it like a roller coaster. It was a gyro device that would literally turn upside down. The last part of the level was landing on an aircraft carrier. It did, and I did it, and the dude running it said he had only seen 4 other guys land it. I am legendary. Biff is a legend.
Logan.
Wow, look at all those emojis. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Man, it's been a great day back podcasting.
There's someone here.
Got a lot of subs, and I hear my sub music in the background.
Logan.
All right, this has been great. All right, sorry, we're getting sidetracked.
Oh, you're good.
We're almost there. So now, Street Fighter. Dwayne, tell me a little bit about your arcade Street Fighter connection.
Keep your eye open.
Logan.
First time I ever played Street Fighter 2 was at a truck stop close to where I lived at the time. So I started playing it, and I immediately went to Chun-Li for obvious reasons.
Keep your eye
Right.
open.
So I learned how to use Chun-Li, and these guys would come into the truck stop, and they had a bunch of pinball machines too, but we just really started playing a lot of Street Fighter 2, and
I don't know.
but it wasn't until it came out on the Super NES that I really obsessed over it.
Damn it.
Learning how to use Ken and Ryu, but Street Fighter 2 have a lot of great memories with that. That was another game that we used to have a lot of tournaments at that local arcade in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
I was a Zangief main, man. And and actually, Retro Game Brews is here. I used Zangief in the tournament he had for RGB High Score, and I proved that I was a Zangief main. Very hard to use Zangief, but
very much so, yes.
But if you knew his movesets, you could do some really damaging moves, like the whirlwind pile driver, man, or whatever that was. That would screw you up.
Yeah, it would take like 50% of your health if you could hit it.
Yeah. I used to do that, and it would you'd spin. I think it was like spinning you'd have to spin the control stick in a circle, and then you'd have to hit a couple of buttons. I forgot what they were. But yeah, that is, I mean, look, the Street Fighter, stands side by side with Mortal Kombat as like 2 of the most iconic fighting arcade games ever made. Now, I want to do a shout out to one of my favorite fighting games, and I'm not sure if you had a connection to Dark Stalkers.
Yeah, I remember the game.
Which was an amazing arcade machine that went with the cartoon kind of fantasy route.
Right.
And the characters were very fantasy and mix and weird characters,
Another Capcom.
Great game.
Yeah.
Can't forget that one. Daytona USA.
I played that. Yeah.
Come on now.
Played that a good bit.
The music alone was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
A great arcade game and great Sega Saturn game, which I have Daytona USA. I have Daytona Championship on my Sega Saturn. I even have a shout out to Sega Rally Championship. Great racing game.
One of the fighting games on the, I can't remember which one it was, but the Daytona car was like one of the unlockable characters you could use to fight people with.
Was that Last Bronx?
I can't remember. I just know it was a fighting game. I can't remember the name of the game. I just know that you could unlock the Daytona car.
And that was the fighter. Yeah. I remember that. Wait, let me see if we can find that Daytona USA car fighting game. It's Fighters Mega Mix.
Okay.
Which I have for the Sega Saturn, by the way. Here it is.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous.
Hey, give the Daytona car some love, and they did.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Look at that. That's so funny. Fighters Mega Mix. Thank you. Great fun little fighting game. I have it on the Saturn. I showed you Turtles before. We can go down a rabbit hole. Everyone loved Turtles in Time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Blah blah blah. NFL Blitz. Anything there for you?
Yeah, I played a good bit of NFL Blitz.
Great arcade game. Great sports arcade game. Just freaking
a lot
awesome. A lot of fun. A lot of sweating and big battles against people with this game.
I forgot about that. When the guys tackled on the ground, you could do wrestling moves on top of it.
You do wrestling moves. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Of course, the iconic X-Men intro cinematic that would play on repeat when you weren't playing it.
That was a fun game.
You can't forget about this game. I mean, it was this opening alone was just fantastic. Wolverine in his old brown and yellow suit, like really iconic 90s here. This game was, hours of playing this game.
I played it a lot myself.
And then what do we got
There
here?
was a 6-player version of that.
There was, yeah, of course.
Huge cabinet.
Virtual Fighter 2 in the arcade, I actually really, really enjoyed.
I got I've always talked about that as one of the most underrated.
So underrated.
I love Virtual Fighter 2. I got really good with Wolf right there.
Wolf was my main too.
Yeah, I loved using Wolf.
Dude, this game was so cool, and I always loved about like knocking people off the stage, and you'd always have those moments where they like just fall off, or like something happens and you fall off and you lose, because when you get knocked off, you lose as well. You could also be killed with energy and stuff, but if you fell off the board, you lose. So I used to love. I played this a lot. I have a lot of memories of this in the arcade, and I have Virtual Fighter 1 and 2 for the Saturn, which, believe it or not, the port for the Saturn for Virtual Fighter 2 is phenomenal. Great.
Oh, I when I did have a Saturn back then, this was one of the games I had, and we in the barracks in the military, we used to play this all the time.
Yeah,
we would play. That's how I got really good with Wolf, was playing the Saturn version.
How about the legendary Marvel vs. Capcom?
I love it. Absolutely love it.
When this came out, I was impressed. I was like, they're doing a crossover with Street Fighter characters and the Marvel universe. That, forget about it. And a lot of these games on console are very valuable. You got Marvel vs. Capcom for the Dreamcast is like, I don't know, $150 these days. Like, you can't even. But this is this would be an awesome cabinet to own.
Yes, it would.
It would. Is this one go for a heavy dollar? I would imagine it does.
I'm not sure. I know that there's some kind of thing with the Capcom boards. Like, I don't know exactly how it works, but like they would actually die.
Wow.
The boards would die. And I may be wrong about that. I do know that there was something for a while where after a certain amount of time, they would actually stop working and they were almost impossible to get back. So I don't know as far as the value goes. The boards could be scarce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that, and Dwayne, we're coming close to the end of the hour. We're almost closing out here. A couple things I wanted to mention before we get out of here. Some cultural things from the 90s was the coin line, where you would have to put a quarter on the machine. We can't talk about the 90s arcade without the importance of the coin line. And you must obey the coin line. You had to respect the coin line. You knew where your quarter was, how many quarters were ahead of you, and how many quarters were behind you. And if you didn't obey it, you were out. Get out of here. Like, that's how it worked. You would literally have a line with the quarters. It was so smart and so important. And there was some it's like in golf, there's golf etiquette. This was literally arcade etiquette. So you remember the coin line?
Oh, absolutely. We used to do that all the time. And it was really cool. When they released Street Fighter 2 on the for the Xbox Live Arcade on the 360, they brought Street Fighter 2 out, and they actually have a mode called Quarters where 4 people could get into a room and they could fight each other, and it would go in turns just like you would in the arcade. It was
that's awesome.
It was called Quarters for that reason. Yep.
Giving love to a respectable cultural thing about the arcade. I miss coin lines, says Chavio. I miss it too.
That was fun.
And before we close out here, it's important to note that there's just really no way to recapture the type of nostalgia that we got to experience. The kids these days will never know truly what it was like. They might go to a restaurant in the future or a barcade and see arcade machines, but if you didn't live through the 80s and 90s, then you didn't understand what this meant to be dropped off by my parents on a Saturday and spent, like, my mom would go shopping on a Saturday. She'd drop me off at a place called Sports World in Paramus, New Jersey. I know Genzo knows Sports World. And it was this huge mega arcade, right? And she could leave me there for hours, go shopping, and I didn't give a crap because I didn't want to go shop with her. I'd be like, Mom, drop me off at the arcade and I'll see you in 5 hours, even when you ran out of quarters, you'd be stuck at the arcade because your parents would have to pick you up, and I would be going around and trying to find quarters. I would just watch people. I still enjoyed myself even when I couldn't play any games.
Right.
And
Same.
And you know how we're on Twitch these days and we watch people play games? Well, the real Twitch was when you ran out of quarters and you would be that guy, girl, standing behind watching someone play.
Absolutely.
And then maybe you would talk to them. That was chat. You'd be like, hey, oh, good move, man. Great stuff. Like,
oh, yeah.
That was Twitch before Twitch. You would like stand behind them. Sometimes the best ones were when it was a group of people you would see in the arcade, like, oh, what's going on there? There's like 5 or 10 people watching this person play. What's going on? Oh boy, gotta find out. And then you'd be like, hey, what's going on? And then people would be whispering to you, oh, he's about to break this record and blah, blah, blah. You know, like, it's like, I wish I could replicate that stuff. I'm sorry, I'm venting now.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
How do we replicate that?
I don't know, but that's something that I absolutely remember very clearly. You'd have a big group of people and you go, hey, what's going on over here? And you go watch. And sometimes it would be, we were talking about Street Fighter 2 or Kombat 2.
Streams.
You just have these big group of people watching the people take their turns fighting each other. And, you know, there's always that one guy that nobody could beat. And he just kept getting all these free games because people were coming in and challenging him over and over and over again. Yeah, that was so much fun, man.
And what
can't replicate
it.
Yeah.
And to kind of close out here, what's cool, you see what this says here? This says Sports World. This is literally, and I know Genzo is probably laughing about this, but this is literally the place I just mentioned. And on eBay, people are starting to sell tokens from these arcades that had a lot of nostalgia behind them.
I have
this token is $29.99. $20.
I actually have several old tokens and stuff. I bought a lot of 100. Remember Showbiz Pizza Place?
Of course.
I have like 100 of those that I bought off of eBay a few years ago.
Dude, smart because man, dude, there it is. Like this guy's selling this for $29. By the way, Sports World was amazing. I wish I could take you back in time and we can go there. There was a couple of other arcades, just going to shout out, in New Jersey. There was a place called In the Swing. It was very much a batty caging place, but they had an amazing arcade. Then finally, the other one was Mr. Arcade, which was in Nyack, New York, or West Nyack, New York. But yeah, so Dwayne, I think we've successfully gone through, or Nanuet, thank you, Genzo. We've gone through a good sense of not only like where your, where your love lies, which sounds like a lot of arcade cabinets, your whole Donkey Kong connection, and then just talking about like, hey, this generation of arcading that, forget console gaming. We've been talking about arcading, right? Because that's gaming in another way. Right. Like home console gaming is gaming, but it's not the kind of culture that you had when you went to an arcade. And
it's not the same experience, no.
No, and you ate that shitty food in the cafeteria at the arcade. The horrible pizza. And you would chug.
At Showbiz, yeah.
Yes. Showbiz Pizza and their mechanical robots. Really good times, before things changed. And, nowadays, before the pandemic, what was happening, there was a big explosion of barcades where it would be like these like modern bars with like old retro arcade machines. That's still something here. There's a couple places in LA that have that. So that gives you a little bit of that nostalgia. But unless we have a time machine, Dwayne, we can't really feel that true nostalgia.
That's true.
Unless we go back. And Genzo says, at least Mr. Arcade was next to Pizza Hut, which the Pizza Hut is still there. Wow.
That's another thing too. Almost all the Pizza Huts had cocktail cabinets in them.
Oh yeah, that's true. The old school Pizza Huts where you would go and actually eat dinner at Pizza Hut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are the days. But any final thoughts, Dwayne, about like arcades before we close out today? Anything you want? Anything you missed? Did any of this open up something, or is it just, hey, this is the way it was, the way it will always be, but we'll never experience it that way again?
I just wish I had a time machine, man, because there are times when I would absolutely love to go back and experience that in that time. Just just for a few hours, man.
Just a
That would be
couple
so
of
much.
hours.
Yeah.
Just give us that one. Give us 1 hour. Give me 1 hour in an arcade in 1994, right?
Just to bathe in the entire atmosphere, the smell. I mean, you could smell the arcade. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you could.
The ambiance of all the sounds of all the different games being played at the same time, and just that. Oh my goodness, man, gets me excited just thinking about it.
But yeah, Crunchy, thanks so much for joining us today. This was a great Cafe BTW. Really went into more detail about arcading and the culture of arcading, and that goes a lot to having you on the show.
Man, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And if you want to check out Crunchyroll, I think we put his stuff in the chat. There's his Twitter, his Twitch. Check him out. Follow him. Also, remember, I'm here every Saturday at 8 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to have some other guests next week. We have another guest. A week after that, we have another guest. Dwayne, we're going to keep doing these shows. And then I am going to be going on another short hiatus, heading to New York for Thanksgiving, obviously. But we have a lot planned for 2022 as well. I'm excited. And Dwayne, I hope you have a good weekend. And thanks again for really taking the time to come on. And it's been fun, dude.
Yeah, same. Hope you have a good weekend. And once again, man, I really appreciate you having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I had a blast today. And we're gonna raid a good retro gaming friend from the Twitchverse. His name is 90s Nick. He has an awesome setup. He's kind of cool. He just started out streaming only a few months ago. Let's give him some love. Chavio, everyone that stopped by Biff, and It's Virtually a Podcast, Insanity, and Genzo for Modding, and No Fear, whoever else was here. Thank you so much. We'll see you next Saturday on Cafe BTW, a morning gaming podcast. Thank you, Dwayne. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right, let's raid these fools. All right. I think people still see us, but hey, thank you all again, and let's give Nick some love. We're going to rate him right now. All right, we